Gary, looking good this morning.
I'm just trying my best. And I don't know if I'm talking, if you can hear me over the music. Can anybody hear me over the music?
I'm going to stop the music once we get started.
Okay. I just want to mention about Dexter Wansell, new album coming out. Thanks, Ayana.
Good morning, and we would like to thank everyone who has already tuned in. It's 9:02 a.m. We were going to give people a few more moments to join, but we also want to be mindful and respectful of everyone's time who did join on time. So we are going to get started. My name is Felicia Harris Williams, and I am marketing partner with the African American Chamber of Commerce. I am excited that we are our second session into our Empowerment Zone seminars here at the African American Chamber of Commerce. Today, we're bringing you Lights, Camera, Zoom in partnership with Third Floor Media. Once we get started, we're going to first have remarks by our president and CEO, Regina A. Hairston, followed by remarks from our partner, founder, CEO, and president of Third Floor Media, Mr. Gary Shepard, and they're going to jump into their presentation. We're going to ask that if you have questions throughout the presentation that you put them in the chat. We will be monitoring the chat. There will be times throughout the presentation where they will ask if you have questions. And at the end of today's seminar, we will allow for you to raise your hands and share the mic if you wanted to ask any direct questions afterwards. So without further ado, I'm going to turn the stage over to Miss Regina A. Hairston.
Good morning, and good morning.
Good
Welcome, everyone.
morning.
Happy Friday. I am so excited that you joined us this morning. Here at the African American Chamber of Commerce, we look to enlighten, engage, and empower our members. And this is one of the many sessions of our empowerment session that we hope to bring to you this year. This morning, we have board member, friend, and media partner, Gary Shepard with Third Floor Media. I'm just going to give you a few highlights. We don't have time to go through all of them because he has done such amazing work over the years. Gary Shepard is a broadcast pioneer member and has a wealth of experience in radio and television. He has worked as a morning and afternoon drive personality, a newsman, news director, music director, and program director. He has hosted and participated in numerous television fundraisers and specials. And so without further ado, and Gary, thank you for doing this morning. Thank you for always supporting the Chamber and our Black businesses, Mr. Gary Shepard.
Well, thank you, Regina. You're too kind. I didn't know you were going to do all of that introduction, but thank you so much. And it's Friday again, like we said. And I don't know, maybe it's just me, but does it seem like Fridays are moving around just a little bit faster? Every time you turn around, it's Friday again. All right. So let's just jump right into it. I'm going to share my screen and we will jump right into it. There we go. Bang. Boom. All right. Let's get this going. This is Lights, Camera, Zoom, as we call it. And Regina gave a very nice introduction, and it's so, we're so grateful and proud to be members of the African American Chamber of Commerce to be able to offer this service to you. Many of you have already been on a lot of these video chat calls, and we're going to just go through this real quick too. Won't take up a whole lot of your time, but we will go through this and maybe you'll see something that you didn't know or didn't even think about. So let's get started. Now, here's some comic relief right here. Regina talked about my experience in radio. These pictures were right after I moved to Philadelphia, and that was back in the mid-'70s, believe it or not. I'm at WDAS Radio. I'm in the production studio on the left side. On the right side, I'm actually in the broadcast booth of the AM station. So, you know, how you like my 70s attire? That's how we dressed back then. Virtual meetings. We're in a virtual world right now. Everything is virtual. It helps us out in terms of not being able to leave the house. So we've cut back on spending gasoline and spending time traveling in between meetings. So everything is pretty much virtual right now. And how do you attend those virtual meetings? Well, the formats are varied. First of all, you've got Skype. Skype has been around for a long time. It's out of Luxembourg. It has 2003 is when it was introduced. and it had about 50 million users in 2005. In less than 5 years, that went up to 600 million. What a rise. In fact, we use Skype when we're talking to my dad, who just turned 96 years old, by the way, this past Monday. And he lives in Michigan. He still lives alone, but the family gets together. He still knows how to go on Skype. We get together and we use Skype and we have a chat each and every weekend. Next one up is Microsoft Teams. And I'm sure many of you have been on the Microsoft Teams calls. They're introduced their event in New York back in March of 2017. So they're relatively new on the scene. And we've got Google Hangouts. Following reports that there will be a new service known as Babel, they officially launched it as Hangouts in March 15th. It's May 15 of 2013. So they are still relatively new as well. Let's go to Cisco WebEx. Now, a lot of companies will be using this, and law firms and other large corporations that use Cisco WebEx for the security feature on Cisco WebEx. And I'm sure, again, if you've been in any video chats, you've been using or on Cisco WebEx calls as well. However, we've got the big daddy of them all right now, Zoom. Zoom is the one. Now, we're going to refer to this as Lights, Camera, Zoom, because if you remember, and many of you probably are way too young to remember this, when there was facial tissue that was introduced back by a brand called Kleenex, everybody referred to facial tissue as Kleenex. So we're going to call Zoom the Kleenex of the video chats. Let's give a brief history about what Zoom is all about, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. It was founded in 2011. It launched in 2013. Its headquarters are in San Jose, California, which is the center of Silicon Valley. Eric Yuan was the founder, and he's the CEO. It's a public company on the NASDAQ with the symbol ZM. So if you bought some stock just a couple of years ago with Zoom, that really paid off for you right now, and I'll show you why. It's an IPO. That date was April 2019. So that's, we're coming up on 2 years that it was introduced as a public offering. Continuing with the brief history, some user statistics will show you here. In December of 2019, there were about 10 million users on Zoom. Of course, the pandemic hit. The lockdown began in March of 2020. That jumped to 200 million because everybody was working from home. And in just 1 month, that shot up to 300 million users, 100 million in a month. Q2 of 2020, Zoom became one of 3 apps to be installed over 300 million times in 1 quarter. 4.84 million daily mobile users in March of 2020. That was up 151%, and compared to 1.56 million users for Microsoft Teams. At least 700,000 businesses have used Zoom to date, including 58% of the Fortune 500 companies, and that's as of 2017. So you hear about best practices in business all the time. So let's talk about some best practices as far as using Zoom and what you'd like to do and what you'd like to present. And in that light, let's kind of listen in on this meeting that's about to take place and see how long it takes to begin.
All right, team, good morning. Thanks for joining the call today. Just want to take a quick check to see if we have everyone on the line.
Hey, Allison, I'm here. Janet, can you hear me?
Yes, Kevin, we can hear you.
I'm here and I'm not a cat.
Kevin, I think you might have a filter on.
Yeah, I'm trying to get it off, but I'm ready to go forward.
All right, we're going to get started with some recognition.
Nikki, you're on mute.
Nikki, you're on mute. Sorry, I was on mute. And it's really my favorite part of the Sorry.
Yeah, can I get a keto burrito?
To mute yourself.
Yeah, you got hot sauce?
Pete,
Tapatio, Louisiana. Oh.
Allison?
Ben, if that's you talking, can you try to adjust your camera down?
Okay. How's that? Is that better?
Ben, pull the top forward
Okay. Is
towards
that
you.
okay? Is that better? Is that better now?
Yeah, that's better.
Nabal, we can see you. And you're on mute.
Sorry.
Am I still a cat?
Yes, you are. So you can see those are just a few Zoom faux pas, and there were quite a few more on this, but we didn't want to take a whole lot of time and spend on that. Have you had any Zoom faux pas? So if you'd like to talk about something that you've experienced, please use that raise your hand feature. And maybe what we'll do is just cover that on the end. We were going to pause right now to do a kind of an exchange back and forth, but we will pause that right now and go right to the next slide. So why do people use Zoom? Again, we're calling all the video chats Zoom because it's probably one of the most widely used right now. We use it for personal and family to stay in touch. Just as I mentioned to you about how we are in touch with my dad, each and every weekend, the family gets together because we're spread out all across the country, here in Philadelphia, in Detroit, in Houston, Texas, in Los Angeles, California, Chicago, and other places. So that's a good use of a video chat such as Zoom or Skype or any of the others that we mentioned a little bit earlier. It's used for internal and external business meetings and webinars, just like the webinar we're having right now. For internal meetings, you might want to meet with your team to talk about your strategies and what your goals are going forward. For external meetings, it may be a pitch to a new client or someone you'd like to meet and or make that presentation that you've put together for that new client. Also, it's used for interviews for professional appearances on news broadcasts or other types of programs, digital and linear platforms, meaning, of course, online like we are right now. The linear platform would be broadcast. You may be contacted by a broadcast television station to give your comments about how your business is doing, what challenges you have, suggestions you might have to make, and they may be interviewing you right on Zoom. So make sure you look directly into the camera when you're being interviewed by a television station. It just gives you a better presence instead of you trying to see. You might be tempted to look to see who else is on or look at the interviewer on the screen itself. But if you look directly at the camera, it does give you a better presence as far as your business is concerned and you being the leader of your business. Here's some examples of what not to do. Boom. You saw this earlier in that video where they were trying to get Kevin to adjust his camera, but he wasn't quite sure of how it looked. You see, there's a whole lot of headroom right here on this one. And then now it's a little bit too close. Nobody wants to look up your nose or into your mouth. So make sure that you have something that kind of resembles who you are and presents you in your best light. And speaking of light, you see on this next one, the light is behind me. And all you see is an outline. I look like a shadow. And believe me, I've been on several Zoom meetings where I see people like this, and I want to tell them, look, get some light in front of you. But that's what happens. And here it is, an example of what to do. Having the light in front of you, good framing, pretty nice background. As you can see, I'm in my office on this particular slide right here, just like I'm in my office right now. Here's talking about audio as well, because audio is just important, and maybe, you know, audio does make the video, but working together, you have to have your audio intact. So ensure that your audio is crisp by either using AirPods, earphones, your internal microphone, and you're in a relatively quiet setting. You can go to your preferences to adjust your audio. You can manually change your microphone input, and you can test your audio quality. Showing on the next screen, we just blew that preference page up a little bit, and you see audio is selected right here. And test your microphone, you can test it here. And you see this green bar. When you're testing your microphone, it gives you the level at which your voice is going out to the participants and everybody participating and listening in on the Zoom meeting. It also gives you a brief clip and records that of your voice so you can play it back to hear what you actually sound like. This is really important as far as Zoom is concerned. And I mentioned when you saw that shadow of the lighting that was behind me, lighting is one of the most important Zoom tools when you're in meetings, be it linear, digital, or broadcast. So lighting is very, very important. So this is something that, again, showing that same picture of me with the window behind me, that's a thumbs down, obviously, and the thumbs up, again, the same photograph you saw before with the light in front of me, where you can see the person's face, who you're dealing with. We don't have a whole lot of physical interaction right now, but when we're in virtual, that's almost like physical interaction because you can tell the nuances or way of somebody's talking, what they're saying, or if they have a comment they might want to make. And a lot of times you can read it right there on their face. Speaking of lighting, there are many different lighting sources that you can use, and companies have become savvy to this right now. What you're seeing on the right-hand side is the actual lighting that I'm in right now. It's attached to my computer, and this can be ordered online, and there's several other lighting sources we'll go to right now. So here's your option. You have the window. I was in front of the window was behind me. All I need to do was turn around, place my computer in front of me, and then the lighting shows my face, and it gives me some real good natural light. Again, companies have become savvy. They've started manufacturing these lights. They've been around for a little while, but now they're very, very popular because they can attach right to your computer, and you see the circle lighting right there in the center photo. On the right-hand side, if you're at a desktop, just a simple desk lamp, that will help, but make sure that it's in front of you so your face is illuminated. Here's some virtual backgrounds that you could use. You can go to Zoom, preferences, background, and filters. You heard one of the participants in the video we just saw had a filter on that he forgot he had on, but they had to remind him, you still have your filter on, and he was trying to figure out how to take it off. You can see on this preference page where it says background and filters, and that will allow you to select any one of these backgrounds that you see down below. This one has none. None is selected because it's showing the actual background of me in my office. You can go to blur, which gives you what we call in the industry shallow depth of field. It will really focus on you and blur the background. They also provide some default pictures that they use, and you can add your own picture in. Now, I'm not a real big fan of using virtual backgrounds unless there's a green screen around. Virtual backgrounds will kind of give you a fuzzy look, especially if you're moving around and you don't have a green screen behind you. The background will bleed through sometimes. So that's something you want to take into consideration when you're using a virtual background. This is the larger view of what I was just talking about. And I talked about a green screen. If you see this green arrow, first of all, the background and filters is selected here. This screen, this window will pop up. You see none, blur, and some of the default, and one that was created for Third Floor Media. Be sure, if you don't own a green screen, to uncheck this box in the virtual background setting, and it will automatically adapt to cover your background. So make sure this is not checked. I have a green screen. If you do have a green screen, that's great. Make sure you check it, make sure the green screen is behind you, and then put your background on. Also, here we go. This is what I was talking about as far as the virtual background is concerned. How to use that. If you want to interview, you want to pitch an idea, it can help to brand your business and your company. You create a step and repeat style virtual background for your business, and make sure you turn off that virtual background if you're going to do something else. I just heard the story of someone who was doing something like in a gymnasium setting, and they had that virtual background, And then they went to a business meeting the next day and forgot they had the virtual background on, and that gymnasium setting showed up. That's something you don't want to do. Make sure that's turned off. But when I'm talking about virtual backgrounds, if you look around the edges, you will see that it's not real crisp, not real clear, because this was done without a green screen. But if you have a green screen, virtual backgrounds work great. Here's something to talk about as far as screen sharing is concerned. A pro tip: if you're sharing your video audio, click your share computer audio and or optimize for video clip. So you make sure those are clicked if you want to share any type of video and you're doing a presentation. Make sure these areas down here, share sound and optimize for video clip. Please make sure that those are checked, because it will help your presentation and your video run very smoothly. Zoom attire. Well, you know, things have changed now in this business of virtual. As you can see here, this gentleman is dressed very nicely from the waist on up, but he figured he could come to the Zoom meeting with no pants on. Nobody wants to see your boxer shorts, man. Put some pants on if you're gonna have a wide shot like that. If you don't have a wide shot, you know, that's better, but we can see almost everything. We don't want to see your business, all right? Let's talk just a little bit about Zoom etiquette. And I know you may have wondered about this yourself, you know, when is the proper time to interject or say something or whatever. So Zoom etiquette with a few fundamentals. Let's go into that. Yes, still be on time. It is a meeting. It's a business meeting. You're representing your business. And I would say if you're making the presentation, make sure you log on at least 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes early, to make sure any kind of hiccups that you might have, any kind of technical problems you might have, that you can work them out. So when it's time for the meeting and everybody else joins in, you're ready to go. And as for you as a business owner, if you're participating and someone else is presenting the Zoom meeting, still make sure you're early, which means you'll be on time. Mute your microphone when you're not talking. The meeting host can mute all participants. That's a feature in Zoom where the meeting host can do that. But you know, you want to make sure, first of all, if you're not in a quiet area and you're not able to just leave your microphone open all the time, mute it when you're not speaking, because you know, people get a little distracted if they hear the dog barking or you know, maybe a baby crying, and that's okay, because you know, we love to hear babies. But mute your microphone, because it can be a little distracting for those who might be presenting. If most participants are on camera, well, expect to be on camera. That's what we talked about as far as the Zoom attire is concerned. Now, I would say, going back to the Zoom attire, you can do whatever's appropriate in the business you're in. You don't necessarily have to have a shirt and tie on like I have now, but just remember, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. So many of you, I'm meeting for the first time right now, but as we go forward into other meetings, you probably won't see a tie. I probably won't be wearing a tie, but make sure that if everybody is on camera, expect to be on camera and dress appropriately. You can use the raise your hand feature, and you see this down right here on the right-hand side. That's in one of the controls on the bottom of Zoom. It's over at the reactions area, where you can raise your hand if you have a question, you want to make a comment, and that will appear right on the screen. The other thing that I've done, and I've seen other people do, is actually raise their hand. And if you really want to get attention, use the raise your hand feature in the controls and raise your hand at the same time. You should be noticed by whoever's conducting the meeting. Here's something that's really important. Wait to speak until the current speaker is finished, because it's kind of difficult to have effective communication if there are 2 or 3 people talking at once. And that's why the raise your hand feature, either by the controls on the bottom or actually physically raising your hand, that's why that feature is very important. I know sometimes it might be kind of difficult, like I'm doing right now and talking on and droning on and on. If you have people who are doing that, then continue with the raise your hand feature. Sometimes you might just have to jump in if there's a pause or if that person takes a breath. But it's very important that you at least try to wait until the current speaker is finished before you speak. So in conclusion, we're running through this real fast because we want to have time for some discussion at the end. I thought I saw some comments coming across. I'm not able to read them right now because I am sharing my screen, and I'll be relying on both Regina and Ayana to make sure you select someone or select their questions, or if someone would like to actually physically make a comment, we will do that. But in conclusion, we are not endorsing Zoom. I just want to let you know we're not getting paid by Zoom. And these are our recommendations to help you best present yourself and your business in its best light. And hopefully you got something out of it. For your sanity, here's something that I know I've had to struggle with. Limit your Zoom calls per day. Now, if you think you can take 3 per day, fine. If you can take 4, that's fine. 5 gets to be a little, I think that's the maximum that I've done, and maybe 6, I think. I've done 6 Zoom calls one time. But if you think about it, if you do 5 Zoom calls within a day, and each of those Zoom calls last, say, an hour, that's 5 hours during your day that you've been on these virtual meetings and Zoom calls. So how much time do you have left to do the work that was actually generated by the meetings you were in? So to help your sanity, to help your workflow, try your best to limit your Zoom calls per day. We don't want you to get Zoom fatigue because, you know, at some point you just want to shut that computer down and not see it again for maybe another week or so. Zoom is now a main way we make first impressions, and that's the impression. Think about the impression you want to make. As I said, you don't get a second time to make a first impression. So I know I've gone through this pretty quickly now, and there was a lot of information that was thrown out and distributed to you. We'd like to know, what is your biggest Zoom challenge? What's your biggest Zoom challenge? Think about it, and we're going to go to you in just a few minutes. I'm going to ask either Felicia or Ayana to come back and kind of manage that, because again, I cannot see you who are raising your hand. So I'm going to say thank you so much. And as I'm doing my thank yous, I'm going to stop my sharing. And while we gather those people who would like to participate now, because this is interactive, and when you're on the Zoom calls in the meetings, you are in interactive sessions. So thank you so much to Regina Hairston, the president and CEO of the African American Chamber of Commerce of Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware. Thank you for allowing us to make this presentation here this morning, and for doing the good work that you're always doing, Regina, assisting African American businesses to grow, to succeed, and to thrive. We're with you all the way. Thank you to Felicia Harris Williams, founder of Ginger Tea House, principal of High Touch Enterprises, founder and president of Influencing Action Movement, and she also serves as the marketing and events consulting to the African American Chamber of Commerce. Thanks for your guidance through this entire process here today. This is a prime example of how, when we work together with the resources that we have, we can make a difference. Like the old African proverb states, many hands make light work. Tasha Little, Director of Membership and Program Development. Tasha is relatively new, and I can say she hit the ground running. She's been engaged in all of these Zoom meetings as we go forward, and was instrumental with Felicia for helping to get the word out about this particular webinar this morning. I'll say to you, Tasha, keep smiling. And Tasha knows what I mean by that. Ayana Shepard, Third Floor Media's consultant, Director of Creating Services. Ayana has been blessed with many gifts, not the least of which is her creative eye thank you for putting up with me, Ayana, through this entire process. I know I can be a pain, but thank you so much, especially in light of the projects, all of the other projects that you're engaged in. And Ayana's my daughter, okay? She's the one who used to say, "That's my daddy," if you listen to me on the radio way back when. Nikki Bates, who is the co-founder and co-CEO of Norman Bates Company out of Los Angeles. Thank you to Nikki for providing that faux pas video to and thank you to all the participants who were in that piece as well. You may have seen Nikki on national commercials for brands such as Amazon Alexa, Gorilla Glue, Verbo, Almond Breeze, Atkins Diet, and many, many more. So thank you so much, Nikki, for that. And a special thanks to all of you who are on the call this morning. You probably have already experienced much of what we talked about throughout this call and what we covered. And that was really just the basics, because there's a lot more you can do with these Zoom calls. Now, maybe we shed some light on something you were unaware of or hadn't even thought about. And hopefully this will help to present your business and you in your best light. Also, the first 20 members who signed up, who are chamber members for that marketing consultancy, we call it a CNA. You'll be hearing from our office next week on how to schedule your appointment. So thank you so much. So I'm going to turn it over again to Felicia. And Felicia, you can ask those participants if they want to chime in and be on camera and participate, or if they just raise their hand with a question, let us know that, and we'll see what we can do. And I also have to recognize George Lyles, who's on the line right now. George is our Vice President of Business Development and Creative Services. So he's the one with whom you'll be engaged as we do our marketing consultancy. So thank you so much. God bless you. And let's get some interaction going on right now.
I think you're on mute, Felicia.
I'm sorry, we have a question from Dashay Kilgore. I'm sorry if I pronounced your name incorrectly, but you do have, I did allow you to turn your mic on so you can ask your question.
Thank you. My name is not Deshaya Kilgore. I don't know why this problem continues to happen. My name is Timmy Kilgore. Deshaya is my daughter. I am new to the chamber, and I don't know how my daughter's name started popping up in all of my stuff here, and hopefully we'll be able to get that straightened out. But the problem that I have, I'm also new to kind of relying on my business for full support of myself. And I'm trying to get as many supports and through many different avenues. COVID-19 came with a crash on my business, and also came with me having to be the caretaker of several family members, which made me have to resign from my full-time job and rely solely on my failing business. So things have been very difficult as I try to navigate things. And I'm a new business person. My business has only been in existence. This is its second year. So, life is scary, and I'm trying to navigate the fear and work through all the things and learn what I need to do as a person that needs to now rely solely on my business practices for my financial care. But I have been on Zoom several times. My biggest challenge with Zoom is the muting and the unmuting, and people get angry when you mute them, but they don't understand the static and everything that it brings into it. And, I try to nicely tell people, like, I'm going to mute everybody, but like raise your hand, and, but it kind of is frustrating at times. The other thing is sharing my screen, which I continue to get everything on my computer on my screen when I try to share it. So that was, my other challenge with Zoom. But I find it to be a very valuable resource that I'm going to be probably using a lot more as I navigate through this and, try to think outside the box as far as my business is concerned. I'm trying to get another business up off the ground, which is going to have to totally rely on Zoom. So understanding how it works and the ins and outs is going to be vital for me as I go through this process. And hopefully my name will change from Deshaya to Timmy. Thank you.
I know that Gary just texted me. He was Zoom kicked him off. I'm not sure why. He's trying to log back in. But Ayana, I'm not sure if that's something that either you or George can address.
Well, I first, hello, nice to meet you. I would say, and I saw actually a participant in the chat say this, but as far as getting your correct name, I would recommend setting up your own Zoom account if you haven't already with your email address, and then on your computer, logging into that Zoom account when you launch Zoom on your computer and clicking that stay signed in button so that every time you log into Zoom or log into a meeting, it'll be your name that comes up because you'll be logged into your account. And hopefully that should solve your issue there. And you might be logged into your daughter's Zoom account as well, so you'd have to log out of hers first. I would say, as far as I'm fairly young, so I haven't necessarily gone out and ventured into the entrepreneurship space in terms of it being my main source of income. I'm sure that some of the people here in the panel could probably address that. I can only say to that, I know whether in COVID or just even before this, starting your own business is definitely something that can be very intimidating if you're looking to for that to be your main source of income. But I'd like some of the panelists to address that concern as well. So I'm going to turn it back over to my dad and he can address that question. I'll just repeat really quickly.
Okay.
The question was, or one of the questions was, one of our attendees was, is looking to make her business as her main source of income. And right now it is a little bit intimidating. I think this is her first time really having to do it. And because of COVID, she's having to make her business her main source of income. So she's just a little bit kind of intimidated about that. How would you address, give her some wisdom about that question?
So the first thing I like to say, I was kicked off, and that's probably one of the faux pas that we have no control over, because my Wi-Fi here in the office just stopped working. And so I had to click back on using my phone as a personal hotspot. So, that's one of the things that we have no control over. So in terms of having your business as your main source of income, I'll tell you what I did. I just stepped out on faith. And if you have the resources, if you have the training, if you have all of those kinds of things under your belt already, and at the same time, find a mentor, someone who is in that same business you want to be in, and kind of shadow. Ask that mentor if you can shadow that person, and that will allow you to gain more knowledge, more experience, more techniques, more best practices as to how to operate the business that you're in. I know the Chamber will continue to have these webinars to help Chamber members, and that's one of the things. Join the Chamber. Become a Chamber member, because there are lots of programs that are out there that will help you not only with best practice and all that, but financially. Now, they've been these grants and PPP loans and all of these resources that are available to you to help you have operating capital. that's available, and the chamber can lead you in the right direction. And hopefully I answered the question. I didn't really hear it completely, but I hopefully that helps.
Yeah, I'm going to weigh in too. That was a great answer, Gary. And yes, the chamber is here to support you. So we definitely want you to reach out to Tasha Little, T Little at aachamber.org, and she will go through an entire blueprint with you to help you get the resources that you need. Also, you can click on your picture. And I think is at the top right, it's where the mute sign is. There are like 3 buttons, and you can rename your screen to the correct name as well.
Yeah, like this. Here we go. I'm going to do something, and I'll show you exactly what she's talking about. You see how it looks now? My name. And hold on one second. You see how I added?
Yes, and I love your light, by the way.
That's, you know, you can take that anywhere. I mean, I was in a place where, you know, it was just a dark, you know, room or whatever. Pop that light on there, it gives you a good view.
Yeah, there's several more questions as well. People have some good questions this morning. Felicia, you want to ask the next questions that are in the chat?
I did see someone asking about the background, but I wasn't sure if they were referring to Ayana's background, if that was an example of either a green screen or a virtual background.
That is a virtual background without a green screen, right, Ayana?
Yes, this is just a virtual background that we made without a green screen. Yep.
But as you can see, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna mention another question, but you can go ahead and finish your point.
No, I was going to say that's something that was made for Third Floor Media. And as you can see, especially when you're in those pitch meetings where you're trying to obtain a new client, it helps to brand your business. So just, you know, be mindful and be aware of the backgrounds you use. And if you use that virtual, I mean, that's a good branding tool.
There are 2 other questions I wanted to get to. One was, how do you suggest we best navigate events when they are a combination of both in-person and virtual?
Wow, that's a tough one. So meaning they're at an event that's in person, but it's being live streamed? Is that what?
I'm going to assume that that's part of it. That's probably, yeah. When for hybrid events, it's typically in person and it's being live streamed at the same time. Yep, he said, yep, that's
it.
Okay. Because I know we do that in our church each and every Friday and every Sunday. We're live streaming in the church, and all you have to do if you want to participate is log on. There are some people who have come into the church. The church numbers, the church is not open. And so the numbers are very minimal that those folks who are in there live. In fact, this afternoon at 5 o'clock, I'll be doing a live stream of the announcements from Salem Baptist Church of Abington on Facebook, YouTube, as well as the Salem Baptist Church website. It's best, you know, if you're invited to an event and you know there are a limited number of people that are going to be there, then you have to really use your own discretion as to if you want to go out and be exposed. A lot of people have gotten their vaccines and they feel a little bit safer right now, but you still have to be very, very careful because we're still in a pandemic. So, you know, I would suggest if you have the choice of what to do, attend it virtually. Attend the live, just click on the link and attend virtually.
I'll also add, when you're doing a hybrid event, I think it's also good to have the right staffing. You want someone that's dedicated just to the people that are online. And then also you want to make sure that you have people that are focused on the production that's going on, that's being live streamed, because that one person can't do both. You need someone really focused on the online engagement as well. I also dropped in the chat a really good resource called Restream, which does allow you to stream to multiple platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, all at the exact same time. And also with Zoom, on your account, you should be able to, if you click more at the bottom, this is if you're the host of a meeting, you can stream your Zoom meetings to another platform. But it only allows you to do one at a time, not unless you upgrade to an enterprise version. So you can stream your Zoom directly live to Facebook, or to YouTube, or to a custom streaming platform. And so you can do both. Just make sure that you do have someone that's dedicated to the people that are online, and someone that's dedicated to the production. If the production is Zoom production and it's being streamed, you definitely want to make sure that you still have extra hands. So today is a great example of how, you know, there are multiple people that are supporting what's going on. So while Gary was doing his production presentation, there were other people that were available to respond to any technical issues that people had with logging in, or even respond to the chat. So just be mindful of that. And anyone else wanted to add to it? There was another question.
There was another question by Tariq Brooks in the chat.
Yep, it says,
what? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, what is your opinion on reading?
Can you guys hear me?
I think Gary's frozen.
Yeah, I was talking and was saying that this is a perfect example of having the crew that's dedicated to production, and you just put it quite succinctly. And Restream is exactly the platform that we use in the church. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So Tyreek Brooks wanted to know, what is your opinion on reading your speech or presentation while presenting on Zoom? Should you try to memorize more of your presentation so that your eyes can remain focused on looking into the camera? I'm not sure who would want to answer that one. And after that, we have Jacqueline Knight raised her hand. So I want to get to her after we answer this question.
Can you repeat the question, please, Felicia?
Yeah. Tyreek Brooks wants to know, if someone had a speech, do you suggest that they memorize as much of it as they can, or is it okay to read from the screen while delivering the speech?
It's okay. That's okay to do that, to read from the screen while you're delivering your speech, but you always have to make sure you have that camera as your focal point as you go back to, because just remember, although there are a group of people on this call right now, I'm just talking to really one person at a time. So it's kind of like when you're in person and you're talking with someone and you're having a meeting, you want to have eye contact with that person. So you're making that eye contact by looking straight into the camera. It's allowable to read your speech, memorize as much of it as you can beforehand, but make sure you have that camera that you look straight into, because you're making eye contact with the audience on the other side.
Awesome. And I will also add too that if you put your speech on the screen, and as long as your words are still scrolling at the top, it's going to give the illusion that you have eye contact. So you might want to consider, you're not going to be able to see obviously the people on the Zoom, but you can read your speech directly on your computer screen looking straight ahead, and it will give the illusion, which is a great trick for Zoom, instead of printing it out and having it down so you're not looking down. Right. So, and I would say practice that. You can record yourself practicing that just to make sure that you're giving the right eye contact.
And if you look at news anchors, I mean, they're reading a teleprompter, which is right inside the camera itself. So that's why you could always see them looking straight into the camera, but they're actually reading the script that's going, and it's scrolling as they're reading. But you also notice they will have script beside them as well in paper form, hard copy, old school, in the event something happens to the teleprompter.
Awesome. I'm now going to turn on the mic for Jacqueline Knight. Jacqueline, I see that you had a question.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes. Can't see you though.
Oh, I know. My question, and you guys just talked about, actually it's two questions, was around talking to the camera. I find myself looking at the individuals. And when you mentioned looking at the camera directly, I think my issue is I can't see their response. I can't see, their facial expressions. And that that's challenging for me to just be staring at the camera without staring at the screen to see what's happening. And my other question is around the etiquette of eating and drinking while you're on Zoom.
Yeah.
I see a lot of that.
So let me just answer that first question that you had first. In terms of looking at the people on the screen, that's fine and perfectly okay when you're in meetings. When you're in a meeting and you want to get the response from either your team members or someone else, it's okay to kind of look at their picture to see exactly what their response is. When I was talking about looking directly into the camera, for the most part, it's when you're being interviewed yourself. If, say, for example, a television station wants to interview you through Zoom, and you're tempted to look at the person who's interviewing you, so that takes your eyes down off of the camera and you're looking at the person that's interviewing you. When that person is interviewing you, try to keep your gaze on the camera. In a meeting, it's a little bit different because you do want to see reaction from people. So it's okay to go periodically look at the screen, see who's looking, but if you want to address somebody, try to keep your gaze and your eyes directly on that camera. And as far as eating and drinking, it's okay. You see now we're in a different paradigm. You might want to have your favorite beverage beside you. You can take a sip of that. I think that's fine. But in terms of eating a meal or something like that, and people are seeing you and you're on camera, to me, that's not really business presentation. I mean, not unless you called it as a Zoom business lunch. You're enjoying food together. I mean, that's okay if everybody's doing it. But if you're the only one doing it, I would say try to refrain from that. But you can always have your beverage, always have your drink beside you. Any other questions or comments?
I think that was the last question in the chat. I know no one else had their hand raised. Going once, going twice.
I see something. I do see something here.
People are giving feedback and advice in the chat.
Okay.
I am not sure if you wanted to read some of the feedback that was received.
Yes, I can. Let's see. Lee Vaughn shared great information regarding sharing on various platforms. I was not aware of this. Thank you for sharing the information on Restream. There was also a recommendation. I see Jacqueline Knight, she just shared the light idea is very helpful. I realized I have to put the light in front of me to get good lighting while you're on the call. There's also a suggestion by Lee Vaughn on sharing more advanced features that are offered on Zoom, such as sharing screens, etc., along with other features in more detail to be presented later on in another session.
And I just wanted to say, Ayanna, while you're looking at that, yeah, we know that there are many more features that you can use, but we had a limited amount of time. We just wanted to go with the basics right now, but if that's something that we'd like to do going forward in the future, let's consider that.
And I know that there was another suggestion, Ayanna, I'm not sure if you got to this one, but when you have trouble with your Wi-Fi, the suggestion was to plug a cable directly into your router, and then directly into your computer so that you can avoid drop calls and getting kicked offline.
That's true. And this is the first time, believe it or not, that happened to me. Out of all the Zoom calls and everything that I've done, that's the first time that has happened. So, I have my Ethernet cable available, but it has to have an adapter to go right to this particular system. I'm on a MacBook Pro. So, you have to have the correct adapters for that.
Awesome. I just want to bring all of our attendees, your attention to the chat. I put a link in the chat for a survey about today's session. we do want to continue to bring you valuable programming that will help you with your business. And so in order to do that, we definitely need your feedback so that we can continue to bring great programming and improve the programming we already have. I'll share the link again in a follow-up email later today, but I did put the link in the chat. It will take you less than 2 minutes to complete the survey. Please, we really look forward to receiving your feedback. I'm going to ask if any of our panelists have any closing remarks. We are approaching the 10 o'clock hour.
So George, do you have any closing remarks?
Yes, I just want to say this. I think it was a great opportunity, introduction to learn about, Zoom and the proper etiquette. We here at Third Floor Media look forward to hearing from anybody who's interested in helping them with their marketing challenges and how we can help you grow your business through our marketing strategy. So look forward to hearing from you.
Yeah, and we'll be in touch to those members who signed up for that free introductory marketing consultancy. Ayana, anything?
I just wanted to thank all the attendees for joining our presentation today.
And Mark Anthony, thank you for your comment. He says it's a fantastic introductory information using Zoom. Looking forward to other presentations. So thank you so much for that. Aside from the faux pas that I had, I think we had a good time here today, and hopefully this will help you as far as your business is concerned, presenting it in its best light when you're on all of these Zoom calls. Thank you so much. God bless you.
And I will just close us out with saying thank you to Third Floor Media. I hope my staff heard that you can't put people on Zoom all day because they need to get work done. So I'm looking forward to my schedule looking a little lighter starting next week. But thank you to all the participants. Thank you to the members for joining us. And if you're not a member, we invite you to go to our website today, aachamber.com, and join today. Thank you and have the best Friday ever.